Jana Schmieding plays Regan Wells in the Peacock comedy series Rutherford Falls. I'm at Nobler Gold Derby. Here to ask you, Jana, this show is about perspectives and different perspectives. What perspective interested you most in the Rutherford Falls season one?
Of course, because I'm a Native person, an Indigenous woman, and I was a staff writer on the show, I was largely interested in bringing the Native perspective to this show. And I think it was a great opportunity for us as writers and Native performers to really live in that world and create a world where our perspective was honored and treated with dignity and value. And the way in which the characters get to explore that perspective, specifically Terry Thomas's perspective, and Michael Grey Eyes being able to, he has autonomy and power in the show, and he's able to sort of flip the script on Nathan Rutherford and give Nathan a little bit of a interesting insight into how Native people have been treated historically by white settlers. And so that sort of flipping of the perspective was really fun to play with as a writer and as a performer as well.
And from what I understand, half the writer's room is Native. How important is that in telling these stories and giving this perspective?
It's incredibly important. Not only was the world of Rutherford Falls more rich and impactful, but Native viewers are having an experience where they really feel like they are seen in this community and in this, we're exploring Native jokes for the first time on screen. And so that's really fun. So yeah, I think I think we're moving into a new era, I hope, of content where, we should have a larger voice in the writing room. And I didn't realize this going into the experience of being a staff writer on the show, but I didn't realize how much touch the writing staff would have on production. So, having Native people who are involved in the arts in our other lives, being able to bring that experience. We brought in Native designers that we've worked with before and that we purchased from. We brought in Native musicians that we listen to, and it just makes the world so much more meaningful for not only us as the creators of the show, but the audience. The audience really can identify with the world and feels like they're a part of this show in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, and I imagine, from what I said, I think there's about 5 Native writers in the writers' room, and that is quite, I would imagine. I'd imagine even just amongst those 5 who come from different parts of the country and stuff, there would be very different perspectives on Native experiences as well.
Absolutely. We were a diverse staff, Native and non-Native. And we're writing for a diverse cast of characters, and within the 5 Native writers, we all come from all different kinds of, we come from all different Native experiences and walks of life. We have Native people who grew up on reservations. We have city Indians, as we call them, or urban natives. We have, I was a writer. I have a master's degree. We have some people who are, college wasn't their path, people who are bead workers and musicians and poets. These are people who have been, Native people who have been doing our crafts sort of independently in our own community for years and years. And this is the first time we've gotten an opportunity to collaborate and make something for a more mainstream audience.
You play Regan on the show. What did you find about Regan was the most interesting thing?
Something that I found really fun and interesting about Regan that I don't necessarily have, it was a real performance opportunity for me, are the ways in which Regan walks through the world with sort of a confidence that I don't carry myself, and she's just the kind of woman who is ambitious, and she's ready to, get her cultural center made. Sometimes blindly, she goes about these missions where she's, not taking the pulse on the community before she pursues her endeavors. But also with her romantic relationship with Josh on the show, that like confidence that she carries with her, and just like, you know what, I'm just gonna snag this guy. That was like a really fun performance opportunity for me, because that's absolutely not how I exist in my real life.
So in some ways a real performance opportunity for you and a real acting opportunity for you. How are you similar to Regan?
I have a lot of the same feelings about community that Regan shares. Regan, the character of Regan, is really like an amalgamation of all of the native writers in the room, and sort of our experiences moving through adulthood, and I really identify with Regan's desire to just be a part of her community and to please them and to figure out how that works. I think that's a trait that a lot of Native people share, is just that pull toward community and that pull toward pleasing people. And she realizes, over the course of this season, that you can't please everyone. And that's like a real realization that I feel like I've had in my life, and certainly through this experience making a show about it. In many ways, playing Regan and being on the show has been a very meta situation for me, because a lot of the things that Regan was stressed about on the show, I was also stressed about playing Regan. It's very surreal at times.
And you were in the writers' room before you were cast as Regan as well. Like, how did that decision work out, like, for you to play this character?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I really didn't expect to even audition for Regan, the role of Regan. Mike Schur shows, he often casts his writers as smaller roles on the ensemble. And so I actually went into this experience hoping that I could audition for the role of Sally, who is the kind of bully characters, the casino employees, Wayne and Sally. And so I was like, I hope I can audition for Sally. I've been performing live for over 15 years, and I consider performing my first love. But when I got the sides for the audition, Sierra had included sides for Regan, and there were a lot of moments where I was like, they're just being nice. And then, once I was actually going to test with Ed, it was a totally different experience, where I was actually, my confidence switched into gear. It was sort of like the show must go on attitude. And I realized that Sierra and Mike and Ed saw something in me that I maybe hadn't seen in myself. And it was like a very loving and supportive experience auditioning and testing for the show. So yeah, it was a surprise that turned into like a really special gift.
And you said you've been performing for 15 years. What was different about this performance as Regan than your past sort of experience as a performer?
Oh gosh, I mean, everything is different about it. I'm getting paid to perform, for one.
Nice.
The feeling of playing Regan feels like a lot of my work, both my work as a Native woman and my advocacy and activism, and many of the things that I've been trying to write about for a long time as a screenwriter. I get to now perform those feelings, those emotions, and those characteristics. And, when I was performing live, it was just really straight comedy. It was like really fine tuning my comedic skills and finding my comedic voice. And so I really feel like this has sort of become like a pinnacle experience in my comedy career, where I'm able to not only exercise my comedy skills that I've been honing for years and years, but also getting to bring in my Native identity and explore identity in a way that I really wasn't able to comedy audiences, simply because mainstream audiences for comedy and for any entertainment sect of the entertainment industry, there's not a lot of literacy around Native jokes and Native issues and Native culture. And when you aren't able to, when there isn't that literacy, the jokes are just not going to hit. They're not going to land. So this was a really great opportunity to kind of like build literacy in an audience, and also deliver those insider baseball jokes to Native people in a way that they can really appreciate.
It's like, this like show is in many ways broad comedy, like not unlike a lot of other great comedies we've seen, but it sort of, because of the nature of the premise, deals with a lot of complicated conversations about cultural identity and racial issues and all these sorts of things. Does it make it more complicated having to do that through a comedic show, or is it more freeing doing it like from the sort of prism of a very sort of broad comedy show?
I think it's more freeing. I think that comedy is a great medium for talking about wider social issues. I mean, at its core, comedy is a commentary on the culture of power, and Native people have been using comedy to explore our pain and our trauma as long as we've existed. We had Indigenous comedy culture and like clown culture before colonialism really took a lot of those cultural touchstones from us. And so this feels like a really exciting opportunity for us to sort of rebuild and reshape what Native comedy could begin to look like. And I think audiences are ready to explore deeper issues. I really believe that the population and our current cultural climate is excited about talking about meaningful topics in a fun and funny way, and in a way that is universal. I mean, I think that these experiences that the Native characters are having on season 1 of Rutherford Falls are understandable to individuals in the United States. And anywhere that has a colonized population and a history of settler colonialism. So I think that we really are like hitting those broader social issues that affect Native people, that affect Indigenous people, but we're doing it with a wink and a smile that tells people like, it's safe to talk about this. We should be talking about this.
And in many ways, like at the heart of some of these conversations and some of these like perspectives is the relationship between your character and Ed Helms' character, and their sort of relationship, and it's sort of this, it's highs and lows throughout season 1. What do you think like audiences might take away from that relationship throughout the course of the season?
I've gotten a lot of questions after the show asking me, is Nathan Rutherford a realistic character? Is this the kind of person, like, how is it possible that Regan would put up with Nathan's ignorance and, obliviousness in their friendship? And my response is always like, I have a lot of Nathan Rutherfords in my life, and I always have. I grew up in a small town in Oregon, and there were a lot of what I call well-meaning white people who were liberal in their philosophies and their approaches to life, but through the many systems that we encounter, political systems and educational systems, Native history has been erased. And so I think the friendship that Nathan and Regan have is a really great example, albeit it's heightened, for comedic purposes. It's a really great example of the types of relationships, what Native people are holding on to for a lot of our, white colleagues and friends, the kind of silencing that we experience in our day-to-day life. And to the idea that, how is Regan still friends with this guy? Well, we see in the season what happens when she challenges Nathan's perspective, and she really confronts him about it. What happens is their friendship sort of explodes. And so of course there's a lot on the line for Regan. They support each other and they're friends, they're dear friends. And so there's a lot on the line when she starts to center herself. And I think it's a beautiful struggle.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any excuses for Nathan, but in a sense, like, it does reveal, like, from his character, like, the blinders that people can have if they have lived a life of privilege and haven't experienced themselves the sort of unfairness of the world.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you find as the funniest moment on the show in season 1?
Oh my gosh, that is such a hard question. No one has asked me that. That's so
really
sad. I think some of the funniest moments for me are the interplay that Terry and Regan have, the way that they sort of pick on each other and bully each other. And I get really excited watching the scenes that I got to do with Michael Grey Eyes, because he is such a straight man, but he delivers some really hard-hitting jokes. I really love episode 8, the opening scene of episode 8, when they're going to the casino conference and Regan is so excited about the swag and just how fancy everything feels that she got a plane ticket purchased for her. And Terry's act like you've been in a car before, when they have a limo service picking them up. I love the dynamic that they have. I find it to be really funny, and also really true to who I actually am as a person.
Oh, yeah. What you I believe in a past life you used to be a middle school teacher or high school teacher.
Both.
Great. What from teaching has helped you be a better writer and better performer, if anything?
Everything. Yeah, working in a school is a collaborative experience, and not only is it a daily performance opportunity, it's the act of classroom teaching is a constant internal process of finding out how to engage an audience in the art of learning, and it's very challenging. So it's a continuous feedback loop with the self and with outsiders, with others, and it's a collaborative experience with other educators. I happened to work in the South Bronx, which is one of the poorest congressional school districts in the United States, and really underfunded, underserved schools in high need areas. And what that asks of educators is that we use our power of critical thought and our creativity to work together and create safe and healthy and engaging learning environments for students. And I find that to be a creative experience. And a lot of those skills I brought to the writing room and to my experience on screen. I love to collaborate with other people in the film and television industry, working with the sound design folks and the post-production folks, but also the lighting, just learning all about how to make it, how to make each shot hit. And those experiences, I live for those experiences. I mean, this is like just an ideal situation for me coming from the field of education, because it's just a constant collaboration. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think you're right with the audience. The audience, like a audience of students, is a honest and critical audience, and an audience.
Oh, they sure are.
Yeah, and an audience that has to be there. Like, that is not chosen. They have not bought a ticket to the show. They have not clicked it, or they've not chosen to stream this service. They are there.
They sure haven't. Yes. They sure haven't. It is required viewing for them, unfortunately.
Yes. So Jana, thank you so much for talking to us today about Rutherford Falls. People watching this interview can go to goldderby.com, where you can make your award predictions, join discussions in our forums, and watch other interviews with award contenders. And all the best of luck, Jana, with the upcoming Emmy Awards.
Thank you so much, Matt.
No worries. It's great to talk.